In the winter of 2009, then Shadow Treasurer Joe Hockey climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with Seven Network celebrity David Coe, tennis entrepreneur Paul Francis and others. The trip was to raise money for Paul Francis's charity, the Humpty Foundation, of which Hockey was patron. Talus Reserve comprises 15,000 square metres of Crown land on Tallis Street at Naremburn on Sydney's inner North Shore. Since 1992, Paul Francis has operated one of Australia's most successful tennis businesses, Love and Juice, out of Tallis without paying 1 cent of rent to the public. Across the nation, restaurateurs and recreation operators turn a profit from running their businesses on public land. If they deliver the public a benefit and bring themselves a profit, all good. The question is, when is a deal with the government or council too favourable a deal for the business?
Well, this is the Talus Reserve land, which is owned by the state under a Crown Reserve managed by Willoughby City Council. This reserve was leased firstly about 40 years ago. It's been under 2 leases, each of about 20 years if I'm correct. And the last time it came up for lease was in 1999, and the negotiations at that time were on the basis that certain undertakings were given to the council, and the council gave a reduced rent. Since 2011, the council found that those undertakings that were given to them to induce them into the lease that they entered into were not true. And there has been a controversy that has been on foot since that date. The council's tried to resolve it by seeking directions from the Supreme Court under the Trustee Act, and those directions resulted in the court finding that the lease that was entered into in 1999 was illegal.
My name's Dr. Lynn Gow Laurie. Laurie is my Aboriginal name. And I seek permission of the local Aboriginal people and their ancestors for me to attend this land. My own tribe, were not the traditional custodians of this land on which we stand. I'm a Yagal elder, and my land is what is now called Yamba and Maclean in the north of New South Wales. I actually attended Naremburn Primary School and North Sydney Girls High School, and I lived on these lands for many years. And over the years I've maintained a close affinity to this treasured land. Now, on behalf of all present, and thank you all for coming, I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the precious land on which we stand, the Aboriginal people, their spirits and their ancestors. We acknowledge the vital contribution that the Aboriginal people and their rich culture has made and continues to make to this great nation, Australia. On behalf of the traditional custodians, I welcome you all to this land and encourage you to show the respect for it that it deserves.
I've been made aware of the vexed issue that has occurred as a result of the lease and subleases on this land. The land was leased to the NSTA at peppercorn rent for decades, and there were a series of very, very complex subleases, which meant that the Willoughby community was actually robbed of money, while the NSTA really made quite a fortune. The other complicating factor is that if one of the requirements of Crown land is that public access is maintained, and that has not occurred and still does not occur. There is no public access to the land. So, and the other thing is that there's an Aboriginal land claim which was lodged in October 2013, which has not been respected or acknowledged or enacted. And I think our council has to really take serious action to both enact public access to this space, ensure that proper rents are paid on the land, and also that to uphold the Aboriginal land claim.
I'm angry and I want integrity from our politicians.
I feel very ashamed of Willoughby Council. We've spent over $312,000 of our ratepayers' money defending the people who are occupying the tennis courts, the NSTA, but virtually defending them and delaying any action. And Judge Berejiklian, late last year, I think it was October last year, almost 12 months ago, deemed that the leases here were invalid and unlawful. That means the occupation of this site is unlawful. So I absolutely support Susie's comments that we expect far more from our leaders than we're getting.
People have got to be on guard because this is taking place all over Sydney and New South Wales, and they'll take it away if you're not on guard. And so I'm here today to play a little part in that campaign.
Good on you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Good on you, Bill. Thank you.
This is the land claim that was made by the local Aboriginal community in 2013. Successfully, this land is officially Aboriginal land. And where is the acknowledgement anywhere around here that this is Aboriginal land? That's what's missing, the lack of respect for the custodians and original inhabitants of this land.
I'd just like to say that Crown land, which is the land owned by the people, set aside as a reserve for people from way back and for a range of public purposes, is 42% of New South Wales's landmass. And last September, October, the Parliament passed a new set of Crown land regulations because there had been an Auditor-General's report that stated how badly the state government and local governments had been managing Crown land. Unfortunately, the new bill that they forced through Parliament at 3 a.m. in the morning gave them the authority to pass land to councils to manage as community land. The regulations that address that act, or the bill as it is currently, have just been gazetted, and the public is meant to respond by the 24th of September to the Minister. Then they will proceed to implement the new act, and Crown land throughout the state will be in jeopardy in terms of its ownership by the people for the people. And I think we're very slow in Australia to get political about what's happening to our society and our assets, particularly our public assets that neoliberal governments sell off, whether it's our gas, whether it's our oil, whether it's our social housing. It's all going, and now 42% of the land's real estate is at risk.
Yeah, they're already doing that in the Sutherland Shire, in the Bundeena, with their eco-tourism in the National Park, and it's actually before the courts at the present time. And they're also taking another slice to put another tollway or expressway down the south coast. So in every area these people it's just said here, that's to look after the interests of the wealthy few and at the expense of ordinary people.
Even where the community has taken the government to court, as it has in the case of King Edward Park at Newcastle and Tallis here, the court decisions are not being implemented by local government. They are simply being ignored in the hope that they will get a change in legislation through that will take the land away by legislation, and that's what's about to happen. And it's too complex a problem for many people to understand. They will understand it when the land is gone.
Yes, my name is Bill Ryan. I'm 95 years of age. I'm a veteran of World War II and the Dakota campaign, and I've been campaigning, particularly in recent years. I did do that with an Interest in Progress Association, as an active rank and file trade union member, and for all this, my life's experiences, I realised you've got to keep on guard all the time and watch, and where there's an injustice you do something about it. The other people won't do it, they'll do it in their particular interests. So I've been involved in, particularly in recent times, the Nifty Nanas, and along with my son, been arrested about 6 times in non-violent direct action, and because I think that's the only way that people are sick of writing letters to politicians, deputations and so forth. You've got to go confront these particular people, and the older I've got, the more and more I'm convinced that Gandhi and Martin Luther King and these people were right. Taking non-violent direct action, this is where people get together and they can achieve the results that they set out to, and put a stop to this wealth going to the 1% of the community.
The burning question is, why does the government, which controls all charities in New South Wales, allow Humpty to pay rent to the chairman's private company? Further, why are so many blind eyes being turned to what is apparently illegal, the subleasing of Crown land? Furthermore, Talus Reserve is in Premier Berejiklian's electorate, and Berejiklian is also the patron of the North Shore Tennis Association. Like many other things in New South Wales, the entire matter lacks transparency and does not pass the pub test.